Good morning from New York. Yeah, I am your personal mystic, telling you to find the mystic in you. The topic today is inner mind communication, its evolution, and the birth of spirituality without religion. Wow. Well, the Quakers would have it, religion evolves. And I believe it evolves away from simplistic religions to a more natural and scientific spirituality. You know, a lot of the people who followed the religious fairy tales are finding out that their holy books and so many other things just don't stand up to science. So, how is that going to? How are we going to work on that? How are we going to evolve? Well, my religion is scientific. No, it's not. No, it's not. But human beings evolve, and religion evolves, and it becomes more straight up and yet more nuanced. You know, like E equals MC squared. It's a very small statement uh, explaining amazingly a lot of things, and yet it's very nuanced understanding, and my small brain doesn't quite grasp it, but it was a step forward in evolution of the human race. And so everything is evolving toward spiritual but not religious. And inner mind communication, well, that's the mystic part of that evolution, um, because it involves a self-reflection that's deeper than what we than what was afforded to humanity when we were struggling so hard to survive. You know, you can't do a lot of self-reflection while you're running from the bears and the wolves and the tigers. Oh my, you know, and working feverishly in the fields. But there's some time for reflection, working in the fields. But that was a step forward, wasn't it? And that's the ability to self-reflect began to grow, to be self-aware. Who knows when that actually became a great part of the human evolution. Um, anyway, so yet there's a force in the universe that we connect to through love. And love is, you know, just the meeting of the many needs, nuanced and desires of the human creatures that we are, and other creatures are evolving too, of course. But we're at the top of the food chain, and the greatest beneficiaries of life in a way. And we have grown in our abilities and opportunities to reflect. In third world countries, scientific discoveries are rare, you know. In richer countries, you know, they're every day there's a new discovery. Hard to keep up, I'm sure, for anybody. But it's, you know, the religion dominated our lives for a long period of time. And it brought people together. It helped to comfort people, and comfort helps with self-reflection, you know, gives you an opportunity to feel safe enough to reflect instead of just worrying about what's coming next. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. And but this is my opportunity to do this, getting it done. I'm on a mission. And I can't stop. But, you know, it's just, Sapolsky would know. I just can't stop. I have to keep going. It's who I am. And it's who you are. You are evolving. We all are. And society evolves around us, and catalysts for progressive change come from individuals impacting society, and society impacting the individual. It's a two-way street. And so, love, meaning love. Love is a preservation of a species. Love as a protection of the future of that species. Love has many forms, and but it's all about meeting human need and desires, which are foreshadowings of future needs, actually. And so all you need is love. That's your E equals MC squared of understanding human evolution, is love. Well, how did that evolve in the individual? Well, we began with a brain and a mind that could be playful. Fish can play. We've shown that. And we had the ability to focus on our feelings, to recognize them, and express them. So these three things, and these three things evolved as we became more social creatures, more dependent upon one another, into forms of empathy, which allows for a deeper self-awareness, but also allows for a greater social awareness, a greater awareness of others. To see yourself as others is to see yourself as others see you, by the way. It's at least an attempt. So this reflective capacity, which is core to consciousness, that Michio Kaku called a feedback loop. And I called it that too, and when I found out he called it that, I thought, wow, maybe I'm not as dumb as I think. Maybe none of us are. Maybe we're smarter than we think, dumber than we are. Anyway, value of comedy there, that's another subject. Well displayed in Star Talk, here where there's a comedian and an actor co-hosting with a physicist, an astrophysicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I can't remember the other guy's name. Oh my God. Who remembers the sidekick? Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. He's just as important to the show, and probably in his own way just as smart. But, now I'm going, hey, you better find out the name of that person to have a better expression of the situation there. Anyway, I digress. That's what people say when they get old and they're drifting away from their point. Yeah. So this feedback loop is between ourselves and ourselves and our body, our sensations, which is how we know our body. And it's also a feedback loop between ourselves and others, from which empathy evolved from those three perspectives of those three awarenesses that we did have, which was our skills, which help with awareness. Those three skills, play, focus, and expression, are all involved with need. Well, play evolved into creativity into creative empathy, the ability to love with empathy, to love with creativity. Blue there. Yeah. Unedited, I got time for all that. Sorry. And focus evolved into objectivity. You see how that's more social. It's about communicating and understanding what are facts. And the ability to express evolved into compassion and compassionate empathy, to love with compassion. Going back to objectivity, we love with that objectivity. That's your mentor's loving you, right? Or you loving another as a mentor. And so, that compassion is a gateway, a capacity for a person to express in a social context their needs. It's not necessarily safe to feel your needs and express them. And compassion tells you this is a safe time, this is all right. You can express your needs and your feelings because someone is going through it with you. That's part of empathy. you're sharing an experience there in part. And so from these three things, we get truth from objectivity and artfulness, the ability to appreciate all of life, to even imagine ourselves outside of ourselves. Wow, artfulness. What the yogis talked about is everything comes from bliss, everything goes back to bliss. So that creative spark in you, that artfulness, is a way of appreciating things in life. And even when things are tough, you can take that perspective and go back to bliss. Go back to when things were better, and see things in a better way, in a more artful way, like a person watching a movie. All kinds of movies, we enjoy them all. Right? So that is a great perspective. I call it the artist in you, your inner artist. You have your inner counselor, and that's your objectivity. You have your inner caregiver, which is your compassionate perspective. And from compassion, you get what? What do you get from compassion? Goodness. So, and what do you get from that dramatic experiencing self that you are? That reflects using all of these things, that shares a consciousness with others in society. Who is this dramatic self, which I call the kid? It is the part of you in experiencing most directly the drama in your life and the comedy in your life too, and the joy, all of it, the whole movie of your life. Direct experience, but to appreciate that direct experience, become the inner, take yourself to your perspective. I call the inner artist. Okay, are you following me on this? You can watch the video again and think about it. You might find an angle I'm missing. You never know. Anyway, so this is how this evolved. And mystics through the ages have gone along with this evolution, and it had a big spurt about around the time of 500 years segments. Krishna was 500 years before the Buddha. I believe it was about 500, maybe less. And then the Buddha was about 500 years or less. And Jesus came, great mystics. And then we had Muhammad, may peace be upon him, another mystic. All of the marks of the mystics are, an evolution in society toward a more embracive world view and a greater empathy. You say, well, Muhammad, there's so many bad things coming out of him. Wait a minute. When Muhammad came along, which was, I think, 600 years after Christ. Yeah. He Uh, incorrect those in the text, these time periods, Yeah, if you know. It's been a while for me. And think about that a lot. Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave rights to women that weren't around before. It was not such a clear thing that a man could only have one wife from the Judeo-Christian perspective. Jesus kind of edged us that way. Well, Muhammad said you can only have two. So that was better than the polygamy that was going around at the time, And you can have two, that's it. He took a lot of women under his wing, sometimes just to protect them, give them some status or something. And, And he gave women, for the first time, rights of inheritance, which is clearly a step beyond the Judeo-Christian element. I didn't mention Moses. Well, yeah, Moses was in the mix. I don't know where to place him in the time evolution there. But yeah, he was another great mystic. But all of these contributed something to society. The most impacting being the first four that I mentioned, I believe. You hear Jesus saying, you've heard of in the past, or it's been said long ago. Moses said this because of the hardness of your hearts. But I say unto you, there was a step forward in each in all of these. Baha'u'llah was another after Muhammad who tried to bring the world together again. There are many attempts from many mystics along the way. But these stand out. And but religion causes a lot of division. It's still a little too tribal. So science is giving us, the greatest mystics, the ones who most appreciate mystery and deal with it the best. And that is causing another evolution in religion, away from religion. I shouldn't. Evolution in spirituality, which means taking us away, distancing us more from religion and its rituals and limitations. And some of the cruelties and things buried in religions. And there's a lot of it, because of the tribalism in part. Even the best attempts of the mystics led people into tribal wars. And right now, politically, we have the United States trying to you're trying to go backwards too fast. So, democracy is a step forward. you notice that the power gets spread out a little bit more. There's more equality of people, and there's, it's a step in the right direction. Although it can be the tyranny of the majority over the minorities, but that democracy was tweaked. Our founding fathers, who also did a lot of evil things, they had slaves, so we're evolving, and religion is involved with a lot of guessing about how the universe works, and those guesses were wrong. But the initial impetus, the evolution of love through empathy and awareness and self-reflection, continued. And today you see a rise of the birth, not too long ago, of spirituality without religion. That concept. I can't date that well for you, but it seems to be a more recent development that's gaining steam. Of course, atheism is also gaining steam, but there's a spiritual aspect to people, and it has to do with love and self-reflection, and it has a force of its own, and we can't abandon that. So the very notion of spirituality has evolved and become less and less religious and more embracing of everyone, and everyone in all of their conditions, which we echoes of Jesus' statements about people who are falling short of the mark, as Apostle Paul said. We're sick. And today we're finding out how true that is. So, love. Of course, there's this prejudicial point where there's forms of oppression buried in the religion, where people dislike the other and don't reach across the aisle, as they say in politics, and don't find common ground. That's very harmful. It's very harmful, and those, what I'm saying is, people are being oppressed for sins that really aren't sins at all. They're just different divergences of human behavior. So part of that evolution, thus, is also about tolerance. Growing toward tolerance, and so should we hate people that are religious who we think they're in the way? That's a new kind of tribalism now. Love people where they are, let them have their comfort zone, find common ground, and try to be more empathetic and aware. And that's the nutshell of the inner mind communication philosophy, the evolution of mysticism, mysticism being a joining of our self-awareness with our ability to reflect on that awareness itself, which people have called a higher power or God and so on. But is there something beyond that? We don't know. To be honest, we don't know. But if there's a way to that higher consciousness or self, it will be found in inner mind communication and its philosophy. The expression of empathy and awareness within ourselves and outside of ourselves toward others. It's both. So maybe it should be called inner and outer mind communication. Because it's both. One is a catalyst for the other, just as social change is a catalyst for progress in individuals, and individual progress is a catalyst for social change. Some of our great recent mystics, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, and I'm sorry, I'm just really tired. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the great mystics, bringing people together, increasing the empathy and the awareness, and doing it in a peaceful way, in a way that's as much as possible respects the comfort zones of people. And so finding common ground is a way to not don't tread on me, and the people, yeah, well, we shouldn't tread on each other, okay. But there's going to be conflict because, it's growing pains. And some people will go into a panic as things grow outside of their comfort zone. Their religion is being questioned. And, they can't handle it, So. But the growth has to continue, so they're going to find a little discomfort in the world. And that's a lot of what you're seeing with the MAGA movement. People trying to go back in time, trying to not grow in empathy, which, of course, allows them to have validation for their hatefulness toward the other, right? So they hate gays, and they hate bisexuals and lesbians, and once upon a time, the obese, and there's still prejudice against people who have weight problems, and hatefulness toward people just because they're different, they're other. And of course, the other isn't as important as us. But the mystic message is that there is no other, it's all us. Like it or not. And that's all of this is a big part of the birth of spirituality without religion. And as far as churches and temples and mosques and so on, well, they're evolving. paying more attention to the real needs of families in their group. They're coming together under the Red Crescent and the Red Cross to work together and helping to heal society and heal us from the damage we cause ourselves, these wars, so on. Yeah, they're all evolving and necessary. The idea of church or extended family organizations, to put it in plain English, that's the only language I know. Pitiful. Anyway, that's but I'm trying to learn Spanish, so I can have one more. But I'm not the brightest person in the world, so it's really hard for me. So, ¿Cómo está usted, y'all? Okay. However, I digress. But we still need church. We still need extended family organizations. They're taking many different forms now, but try not to be tribalistic. One beautiful thing about the United States, and you will bring tears to your eyes to think there are mosques and temples and churches, Christian form of it, all side by side, or close, all in the same city, and coming together for food drives. Yes, spirituality without religion. They're reaching beyond that comfort zone of their religion and growing spiritually in all of their efforts to help the world and to help save the human race, sometimes from itself. And so, and scientists, the greatest of all mystics, the ones who handle mystery the very best. Yeah. So, do tune in to Star Talk. That's a big step in the right direction. In a way, another great mystic, Neil deGrasse Tyson, although he would say he's not a mystic. But by my definition, yes, he is. Yeah, it's all about love. It's about loving yourself, loving your body, loving others, loving perspectives, above and transcending your dramatic experience. Yeah. Especially when I'm tired of talking about these beautiful things. And my mind just goes peaceful, and I just feel this bliss. It's like I'm in heaven. It's like, oh, let me stay here. And then I come back, have something else to say. My own personal journey, it was through many different religions, and I experienced many different good things and some bad things in all of them. And there was a time in which, for me, I was having what we would probably call paranormal sorts of experiences. Now, whether they really were or not, I don't know. And the objective mystic in me says, I don't know. But that love was so great, and it would flow from me. We would try to hear that inner artist. We didn't know what we were doing, but we called it Jesus. I don't know, but that presence, that loving force, seemed to know people intricately, things about their past and their present. I don't know. I don't remember much about the future, which is what people usually attach to prophecy. And I guess I'm just coming into that, seeing where things are going. Scientists might be the best ones if you're looking for where things are going and how things go. But this practice of inner mind communication is a practice of inner reflection in which you're using empathy and awareness in a loving kind of way toward yourself. And there's no replacing that. You can augment it maybe. And in many ways, outside help has extreme limitations and can't do some of what you can do yourself. And yeah, so when you're dealing with trauma and this sort of thing, inner mind communication, this is damaged faith and love, and part of your mystic journey is to experience and unlearn helplessness, which is at the core of why things were experienced as traumatic. Well, the force of the trauma, of course, but how it's encoded and it stays with us is through helplessness, damaged faith and love. We were helpless to get what we needed, and that might have been to get away or whatever. It just got so bad. The experience was just so bad, or over such a long period of time, and it just hurt us. It created helplessness, a sense of helplessness around the very things that we need to have met to grow, our needs and our feelings. And these were covered over, as Jesus pointed out, by symbolic need, and then symbolic comfort. And that's where when you're helpless and there's nothing you can do about it, you get to a point where the only safe place to be is a symbolic place with symbolic needs. It's kind of like a spread out and symbolized kind of force. The impact of the trauma gets spread out so that the whole system can handle it. And that's the force of that that we feel as helplessness. And there are many different approaches now to helping people cope with trauma. But whatever approach that you find helpful, inner mind communication is still a very important part of that. And trainers in that are a specialized field, and it's it's a treatment modality all on its own, and it will have its own experts and so on. It's at the core of things because it goes to the helplessness, and if you have a treatment for trauma that doesn't involve dealing with feelings of helplessness associated with vital needs, I would question that approach. It might help you with symptoms, but it doesn't get to the real core of things. Some are claiming that EMDR gets closer to the core. But it's, as I look at it, it's very, the word convoluted comes to mind, but that's not quite it. It's a meddling in people's trauma from outside and with assumptions about what that person is able to handle, and assumptions about whether or not the guide in that situation is capable. I find a problem with that because in the inner mind communication approach, you use triggering. You trigger the three basic forms of empathy and the three basic awarenesses and of need, all associated with need. And that which you're ready to handle begins to come up, and part of the guardrails is so you can see it in dreams. And, if you're having nightmares or night terrors, then back off. They continue. You definitely need a little bit of outside help, but I'm not so sure that some of the outside help is all that good or all that science-based either. There's logotherapy, which sounds very religious, just the logo term. So, but you look into how the getting you to respond, it's like all future directed from the present to the future. Nothing about the past at all. Nothing, which means nothing about your memories, really, or the stamped-in helplessness, force, that kind of memory. CPTSD or PTSD. It doesn't really, and these things are, when you say CPTSD and PTSD, you're talking about defining things from symptoms that you see in the person. It's not coming from inside the person. And your brain created those symbols and knows the feelings and knows the helplessness and tries to keep a degree of comfort zone as you grow. Your brain does that. Your brain is perhaps the best guide, and anybody helping from the outside needs to recognize that as a very usual kind of situation. It gets more complex than that, Maybe it's biochemical. Maybe it's a tumor in the brain. But in general, for most people, and as a part of their spiritual life, inner mind communication is a wonderful practice. As I say, in my personal growth, I went through that paranormal thing in which these concepts began to come to me. Actually, a big part of it, the empathies were there. Boom. And that was the answer I got when I complained I didn't want to be the mouthpiece of the inner artist for everyone. Paranormal or not, that's not healthy. I didn't see that as a healthy thing. People need to go on their own. It was very touching and moving to have that very knowing, loving force come through me. But also coming through me is a lot of my own faults and everything else. So, no, thank you. More of a yoga approach. Please, Lord. And that's inner mind communication. You're going to see a lot of you study these things and you look at the 6 practices of inner mind communication, the reflective aspect, the inner reflection and experience, and you'll go, oh, this part and that part. That's similar approaches already out there. True. But inner mind communication puts them all together and says there's a connecting link. Helplessness, damaged faith, and love. And as far as spiritual health goes, you want to deal with that damaged faith and love, but you also want to deal with your anxieties about the future. And that has to come from your inner artist, and the inner artist in the mythology that still exists in inner mind communication is that the inner artist reaches into your past as compassionate empathy to help you to feel what you couldn't once feel and express. So to unlearn helplessness around your needs and feelings so that you can recognize them and know them as losses, grieve them, let them go, and go into a phase of forgiveness of those involved and repentance from how the symbolic need force in you hurt other people. And so, when your comfort hurt another, so that's your spiritual growth from the present looking into the past. And your inner artist, also the imaginer of your imaginations, reaches into your future as your objective guide, your counselor that loves you as a mentor, and also reaches into who you think you are. Hey, you are me, and I am you. We are one, says the inner artist to your dramatic self, and calls you to strive to be the hero of love in the story, the movie of your life. You can do this. Be part of this movement. Embrace love. All you need is love. Okay, as I like to say at the end of these messages, namaste. All of this beautiful spiritual connectiveness, this powerful conquering love that exists in all of us and unites us all. This that I have of that would like to honor that in you. And I'd love to sing, even though I'm not a great singer, but you've listened so far, so maybe you'll tolerate it. I love an old Irish blessing that I feel like giving it again today. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, virtually, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Alright, before I say my final goodbye, if you would like to subscribe, do so. If you don't. If you would like to like this video, do. If you don't. You know, put a thumbs down. If you really hated it. And share the video if you like. In this way, you are joining me in this journey of human evolution to spiritual without the dividing religious baggage. Anyway, namaste, and have a good day, y'all.